All right, well, we got one person in here. Hopefully we get some more. We're winterizing our camper today. I do have a full video on my channel on how to do this, but basically all I'm doing now is I'm going through all of my storage compartments. I'm pulling out any liquids and anything that could freeze during the winter months. Put both slide outs out on my camper. Our shower connection door over here I opened up because we're going to be blowing out any remaining water in the lines. We'll be removing the battery. We're going to go through all this stuff here, make sure we got nothing in there that can freeze. But we got everything opened up, so we're going to head on into the inside. We're actually going to need a few things here. If you guys never have winterized a trailer, you need a particular RV and marine antifreeze. There's a bunch of different brands out there, but this stuff is readily available at Walmart, fairly cheap. And if you're watching this live after the fact, I thank you. In the description of the live, there is the link to the full video. But basically, our first step is to winterize our sink, our bathroom sink, our bathroom, anything where we have water coming through. So I'm gonna yank this out of here. That's something we're gonna bring inside. But our first step is basically on our city water connection outside. I'm gonna switch over to this way so you can see me, but our first step is on our city water connection. We need to hook an air compressor to it. Set the PSI down kind of low, like 40 PSI. We'll hook that up to the camper, and then we'll go inside and we'll open the faucets on all of the fixtures. That'll get any residual water out of the lines. And then after we do that, we're going to hook our water pump for when we don't have city hookups into the antifreeze bottle. And then we're gonna let that water pump build system pressure and let that fill up all of the lines inside, and then we'll bleed that through all of the lines until we have that pink antifreeze coming out of all of the faucets. And then basically the water system's good to go. We also have the hot water heater we have to drain. Check out the anode when we have it open. But we're gonna be pressurizing this right now, so I'm gonna show you what I'm doing. So, got my trusty DeWalt compressor over here. And normally when we're hooked up at a campsite, our water pressure is around 50 PSI, so we're gonna go around 40. That should be good enough to do what we need to do. We are plugged in, so that's my kid playing baseball back here. But here's our city water connection. So if you're familiar with campers, obviously you have a holding tank. So if you don't have hookups, you can fill your tank up with water. It's like a 30-gallon tank, but if you do have hookups, you can hook a hose to your city water connection. So you can buy one of these fittings here that fits into your air chuck. And all we're gonna do is basically screw this into here, where our water hose would normally go. Definitely make sure that this is set down really low, like 40 psi. If you have this set at 100, you run the risk of damaging some stuff. But you'll hear some funny sounds. That's normal. Here's our hot water heater. We're actually going to pull that off here for now. But we're going to go inside now and open up the faucets. And it sounds like one of the faucets is already open. That's what that sound was. So basically all we're doing is we're going to run through the hot and the cold, and any water that's remaining in the PEX tubing that is the plumbing in this camper, we're going to blow that out, because this right here will freeze. Look at all that water I've gotten out already. So you don't want to leave that in there. You'll break fixtures, you'll burst pipes. Oh, we got 3 people in here now. Welcome. So we're winterizing our camper today, basically getting all the water out of the lines right now, if you haven't been here from the beginning. So I have an air compressor hooked up to our city water connection with a special adapter. And we're just going to run this a little bit here until we get most of this out. There we go. Got a little bit in here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to go to the low point drain. I'm going to show you that too. So we probably should have done that first. So we're actually going to disconnect this real quick. All right, so on most campers, you have a low point drain, they call it, and it's normally at the far side of the camper. Mine is actually down on the bottom here. Let's see if I can get the camera down low. But let's see. There they are in the distance right there. So hot and cold water. We really want, we probably should have done that actually first, but we need to reach down under there, open both of those valves, and that will let out any of the water at the lowest point in the plumbing system. So I'm gonna grab something so I can reach those valves. So what I normally use is my my awning tool for extending my awning, because I can fit the handle right over there. Oh, looks like we got some water in here. Got quite a bit of water in here, geez. Thought I drained this after our last trip. But we're gonna do the same thing on the hot side here. And then what we can also do is go inside and open up a couple faucets. That'll let some air into the system. We'll open these guys back up. That'll let some air into the system and let that drain. Oh, bathroom's full of crap in here. All right, we should be good. All right. Shut these now. And then, sorry for the run around here. All right, so we should be empty now. So we're gonna close these low point drains back up. Basically, I'm just doing this live to show you that you can do this yourself. Most RV or camper stores or service places will charge you a couple $100 to winterize your camper. And then if you think about it, you have to like hook up your camper, tow it all the way there. You can do this in your driveway or wherever you store your camper at home. Super simple. Save that couple $100 to do something else. All right. There we go. That's what we want. Mostly air coming out of there. And the reason I have a dish pan in here is we don't want this going into our gray tank. When we finished up our last camping trip, we made sure to empty our gray tank almost entirely. So we'll dump that there. We don't want that water getting into the gray tank because it'll freeze. Man, I don't know where this water's coming from. Having that air connection really forces any air in the lines out. Once we start introducing the antifreeze into the system, it'll blend with any remaining water that we missed and make it so the freeze point on it's a lot lower than it normally is. All right. So I'm gonna dump this. And then I'm going to, well, I'm gonna leave you guys on this view here. I'm gonna get the shower area all set here to be able to drain that one too. All right. Man, these kids left us a little mess here. All right, so here is the actual bathroom. I wonder if we're picking this up from the hot water heater, actually. We might be. All right, so you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna come over here. And our water pump is actually located under our couch here. So every camper is different, unless it's the same camper. But basically, we have a handful of screws here that we have to take off. Some campers have a nice little access panel. This camper's a little older. I think it's 2009. But we're gonna pull these screws out and show you what's going on down here. So this whole front panel pulls out, and then our water pump is actually underneath the couch here. So let's get you a closer view. So all right, so we have some valves in here we need to adjust and put in a closed position. So we have right here, this is a siphon tube. This is what we're going to use to pull the antifreeze into the system. So that valve stays closed for now. And then we have a valve coming from the city water tank. And let's see, should have one more. So there's one on, there we go. One on the bottom of the hot water heater. It needs to be straight up and down. Some valves are different depending on the camper, but let's see. So we're going to shut off our city water actually not our city water. We're going to shut off our holding tank valve. So that's the hose that goes down into the 30-gallon tank that's in the belly of the camper. So we're going to shut that. That isolates the hot water heater because you don't want any of the antifreeze in the hot water heater. It is corrosive to the hot water heater. So that's good. Now let's try bleeding these all off again. I'm wondering if it was the air was forcing the water out of the hot water heater. I think I actually closed those valves last year first. That's what we want. A little sputtering is fine, but as long as there's no large amount of water coming out of here anymore, then we're good. We'll hit the sink one more time. And then any other water connections or faucets or outlets anywhere on the camper we need to also do. All right, so that's good enough. Let's go into the bathroom one more time. And also the actual shower head hose we need to drain. So what we can do for that is we'll just pull that down right here, put our diverter on, and you can see we had a little bit of water in the hose itself. All right, so that's good. We're just gonna let that dangle for now. And then we only have one more, and that's on the outside. We have a shower connection on the outside. Right here, and we just want to bleed this one off. And then we're ready to start introducing the antifreeze into the system. Just want to get a majority of it out. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect because we'll flush the antifreeze through the system too. Once that stuff's all the way through, then nothing freezes. All right, so we'll leave that. Now, we're good with the air actually now, so we can disconnect our air. Just go. All right. This fitting is like $5-6 on Amazon. It's actually linked in my full winterizing video. But we're done with the air now. That's really all we need the air for. And that just helps force all that water out. One other thing, I'm pretty sure our holding tank was empty after the last trip, but our holding tank valve is right here. Oh, there's a little in there. So what we'll do is we'll just leave that open while we're doing everything else. There shouldn't be much in there. All right, back on to the inside. And then a little tip too, if you don't know where your water pump is, this is the first time you're attempting to winterize your travel trailer, go to your little control panel that has the switch on it for winterizing pump and flip it on. And you'll normally hear where the pump is coming, where the sound of the pump is coming from anyways. So what we're gonna do is we're going to grab a jug of this RV antifreeze, and we're just gonna stick our siphon hose inside, and then we have that other valve. Follow the siphon hose, open that valve up. Okay, I'm just gonna make sure that hose is all the way down in there, and then we can turn our water pump on. And if it's at pressure, oh, you can hear it running. You probably can't hear it on the live here, but what we'll do is crack this open. Actually, let me grab that pan again, just in case there's a little more water in here. Grab this. Sorry for all the moving around. All right. All right. And there you go. It's already into the system. Sometimes you have to let this run for a minute. It'll go pink and it'll turn like a clear color. All right, we'll hit hot and cold. See, it went clear again. Now it's gonna go pink. All right, so our kitchen sink is winterized. It's that easy. And then what I like to do is, after we're done with all of these, we'll pour some down into the P-traps, because you still have water in the P-traps from our last camping trip. So we'll do this one next here. All right. There's our bin. All right. Same thing on this one. Let's run it till it turns pink. That's it. All right, we're good there. Do the same thing in the bathroom again. And we'll pull our diverter. Then we start getting some out of the shower head here. All right. You can actually see that the hose kind of turned pink. All right, so we're good there. And then we have to get the outside shower. Set this guy right here. And we can actually reuse that too. It is, even though there may be a little bit of water in it, the antifreeze will actually treat that water that's in there. All right, that one's all set. Can actually lock this guy up. And then we can't forget the toilet. And then our water system's totally winterized. It's that easy. Like, you're paying $200 at an RV shop to do this. It's crazy. It's save your money, man. Buy some accessories for your RV. All right, this one. So the actual toilet here, toilet view, you want to leave some of this liquid actually in the bowl of the toilet over the winter. And what that does is it keeps the O-ring on the little flap that's on the bottom of there that opens and closes. It keeps that O-ring moist. Yes, I said moist. But it keeps that, you know, some liquid on there so it doesn't dry up. You don't want to have to change that O-ring on that flapper in there. Not a fun job, because you got to yank the whole toilet to do it. But, all right, so the toilet's done. The shower, both sinks So that's basically it. I use very close to 2 gallons to do it on to basically winterize this camper. Is a 30.5-foot travel trailer, so this is a little bit on the larger side for a bumper pull camper. What we're going to do now, actually before I pull this out, we're going to shut our pump off real quick. We'll clean up any mess we made. And then we shut the valve again once more. If you can see down here again, there was the valve where our siphon tube comes off of. I'm just going to wipe this off, pull it out of the gallon. And I like to kind of lay this flat down on the ground just so anything that's in here leaks out and doesn't spill everywhere. Some of these will actually have a little plug in the end. Probably look at buying one for this particular one, but we're just going to step this back up in here. We don't have to touch any of the other valving. Now we have about this much left of our gallon, so we're actually going to use this to fill up our P-traps in both of our sinks and our tub. And then that portion of the water system, it will be winterized. We still have to do the hot water heater, so that's going to be next. So I'm going to adjust this over here. I'm not watching the chat, so if you guys are putting questions, I apologize. But put our screws back in. And literally for me to do this without like having a live or recording a YouTube video or something like that, I can do this entire trailer in probably 15 to 20 minutes total without having to mess around moving the camera around and stuff like that. It's pretty quick. The smaller the camper, the quicker it is. Alright, that's all done. I'll wipe this up. Now back to the sink. So, if you know anything about plumbing, most sinks have a P-trap on the bottom, and it normally has water in it from using the sink, and that just keeps the sewer gas from coming back up from the gray water system or septic like in a house, right? So that water that's sitting in the bottom of there will actually freeze and crack that P-trap in the wintertime. So what we're going to do is we're going to just treat the water that's in there with some of this antifreeze, and it's just a matter of pouring some in here. And basically any water that gets pushed into the gray tank that was in the P-trap, if it didn't get treated by this, it's minimal. It's nothing to worry about. After we're all done, I'm not going to bore you with this, but we'll clean everything up. This pink stuff does stain these white sinks. This is a plastic sink, so we'll end up going through and just cleaning everything real good after the fact here. Do the same thing over here. We can actually reuse this right here. We'll pour some of this in there. All right, simple as that. And the same thing in here. This tub needs to get cleaned out. And we'll let that go. So that will cover the P-trap in there, P-trap in our sink, and then our kitchen sink is all set. So that's basically winterizing the hot and cold water system inside of the camper. We still have the water heater, so we're gonna go do that now. I have to grab a socket and a ratchet for this. So I'll take you guys with me here. So you're gonna need a 1 1/16 inch socket and probably an extension. So, oh shoot, one more thing. Plumbing supplies. Need some Teflon tape before the anode after we pull it out. Right. Going back outside. Everybody's doing leaves today. We got some boat videos coming out too. We had some fuel issues with this outboard on here, and I went through and I rebuilt the entire fuel system, so stay tuned for those. All right, back onto the hot water heater. So on the hot water heater, some of them are different than this one. This one is a combo electric and LP. There's actually a switch down on the bottom here for the heating element that's in here. And you also see the spark assembly here and the gas valve here and the burner for that portion. So we want to drain this. This thing holds about 6 gallons, and we don't want to crack this tank and have to replace this because it's probably a couple grand for one of these things. So 1 1/16" for the anode on here. And it's actually a really good time to look at the condition of the anode, because if it's shot, it should be about 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch in diameter and solid. Sometimes they erode after a while. I forgot I had air pressure in there. Don't do what I did. That was funny. All right. It's hilarious. So we're gonna hold that on there just like that until we drain some of this out. Dang, got me. I missed a step. So you have a high pressure blow off up top here. Actually, we're gonna close that and I'll show you what to do here. So here's the anode. You'll get some like weird crusty stuff on here. And you can kind of just wash it off with your finger. But this one's in actually really good shape still. Hopefully my video doesn't get flagged for dangerous activities. But this one's in really good shape. What happens with these are in your water heater at home, and they're a lot bigger and a lot longer, but it's basically a sacrificial anode, and after a while this will just erode down, and I've seen them like as thin as like a regular pencil. But we want to get all of the water out of our hot water tank here. This is where we shut off that plastic valve on the inside. So it'll drain out slow like this, but if you open your high pressure relief up top here, that'll let some air in, but it looks like most of the water's out already. And if there's a little bit in here, it's negligible, honestly. You don't have to worry about it. Hey, Chris, what's going on? Hey, you saw that I take it from the haha. Oops. I didn't do that in my actual YouTube video. That's funny. I'm rushing here. I'm trying to get this done so I can do some more work on the boat. So I'm rushing. All right, so most of our water's out of here. We can close our relief valve on the top, and then what we want to do is just pull the old Teflon tape off of this guy. That's funny. I can't wait for the comments that people watch us after the fact. Let's see here. Yep. So make sure you wrap this on here the correct way too, right? As you tighten this into the little bung that's in there, you want it to pull the tape onto itself. Otherwise it'll bunch up and it won't seal good. All right, so that's enough. Any little bit of water in there is not negligible, but if you have like 3 or 4 gallons in there, it's enough to expand and really ruin one of these things. They're definitely not cheap to replace. I know someone that had to replace one, and I think it was a couple grand to have someone else do it. But all we're gonna do now, just gonna tighten that up. All right, and then we make sure our Pressure relief is off. Close that up. Water system's done, 100%. I'm gonna wipe this camera off real quick. The more you know, exactly. Love it. One other thing too, I didn't talk about in the beginning here, but after our last camping trip, we made sure to drain our gray tank entirely, and our black tank, we have a black tank wash or flush on here. A lot of people will stick one of those like rinse sticks down in the toilet and rinse around. You can get down into the black tank from there. But we drained everything out. I ran the rinse on the black tank for quite a while. It's spotless. There's no color to it. It's just clear water coming out. So both of those are empty. That's really important before you get your camper home. You know, you really don't want to just be dumping stuff on the ground in your yard. All right, and what else we got here? So I guess one other thing, like your storage units, right? You want to make sure you take out any type of liquids out of there. So I keep this little bin of all sorts of stuff. I got oil for my generator, slide lube, you know, bee spray, all this stuff. That stuff goes in my basement in the winter because we don't want that to freeze and burst open and make a mess down here. Anything else like in your bathroom. And then we'll go over removing the battery too here. That's probably like the last step, but basically I remove, like the kids have their headlamps in here and stuff. I take all this stuff out. We won't leave batteries in here. Contact solution, frickin' bug spray, all this stuff. Anything liquid you want to take out. And what I do is I just use one of these like Rubbermaid totes or Sterilite totes. Put everything in there. Put that in the basement. Also coffee pot. Like this one probably is not a big deal, but my mom actually ruined a Keurig in her camper because she left it in there, and the Keurigs, you can't get a lot of the water out of the internal pump mechanism in there, so those will fail. Your fridge, I like to take my like travel locks and push them out. I cleaned the fridge out earlier after our last camping trip, but we just want to leave this kind of open like that. That'll let any moisture that's in there escape out of there, and you don't have like a mold factory in here come springtime when you open that back up. But let's see, so that's all that. We'll get the battery out now. Obviously make sure your propane's shut off. Probably gonna leave power hooked up to this the rest of the year, because me and kids actually like to do, we used to call it driveway camping because I had the camper in my yard before I had this little gravel pad put on the side of my house. So we may do a little couple of yard camping trips. But we're gonna yank our battery now. So I believe that's 9/16. I'll be right back. So you definitely don't want to leave this, 9/16. So you definitely don't want to leave this out in the winter, because if the battery gets down below, I think it's around 10 volts, you will not get a charge back on it. I mean, you can like try to recondition it with if you have a fancy charger that has a reconditioning mode on it, you could try that, but I've ruined multiple batteries by being lazy. Don't want to do that. Batteries aren't cheap. I think it's a Costco Interstate battery. I think I maybe paid $110 for it, so it's not that expensive, but we're gonna take it out anyways. And then I'll put this in my garage. I have a battery tender, like trickle charger, that I don't normally leave it on there the entire winter. I'll probably early spring I will hook it up to it just to get the battery ready for the season. Just to work with you. Stuck to it. We'll just put these on here. Put this off to the side. Pull that out. I'll store the strap in our storage compartment, and then we'll just put our cover on. And that's basically, honestly, all there is to it. So, anybody has any questions, drop them in the comments. For certain, we'll probably look through their storage compartment here and just make sure there's nothing else in here we need to yank out. I think everything else is like electrical connections and stuff. But we'll leave the propane in here. That's fine. That's all there is to it. It's that easy. Like, to pay someone $200 to do, you know, I think I've been on this live 40 minutes now. I've probably actually only done probably 20 minutes of work, maybe. But that's all there is to it. And we're winterized. So whoever stopped in, I thank you. Thanks, Chris, for witnessing my almost demise. I need to dry off. I'm actually my arm's pretty soaked here. But yeah, we're just gonna go through the inside of the camper now and just make sure we grab like hand soaps and other stuff and anything the kids left in the bunkhouse here. I put that in here for the winter. There's nothing in it. Oh, look at that shampoo. Perfect. Stuff like that you don't want to leave in here. And then in the springtime, we'll just yank these totes out, come back in here, load everything back in, and we're ready for the season. But we're gonna start grabbing stuff out of here. And I'm probably gonna end this in about 5 minutes because this part's probably boring. Thanks for stopping in. I think this will be on my channel. So if you want to see me get exploded almost by my water heater, you can do it again. Liquid ant bait, yeah, that could probably come in. Oh, look at this, I found money. Dang, dude. It's mine now. Bonus. That's my payment for almost injuring myself. I'll bring lighters in too. Man. Got a family of squirrels living here. Oh shoot, I almost forgot. This stuff's important. This stuff I always leave in here. Under the bathroom sink, man. That's where I keep like my tank treatment and stuff. That stuff you don't want to leave in here for sure. Gray water treatment, black water treatment. These little porta packs too. Everybody loves to use. Water detergent. We got all our cleaning sprays. We'll take all that stuff out of here. What else we got? Bug wipes. Hot hands. That can stay. Anything with batteries, like if I want to leave the stuff in here, I'll just yank the batteries out and throw them in the bin, and then we can just put them back in next year, and then I don't have to bring all this stuff in the house. Sweet. That's everything. All right. Well, thanks for stopping on by, guys. We're going to end this now. But if you look in the description, I have the link to the video, or you can just go on my channel and go to my camping playlist. There's a bunch of stuff in there, and there is a winterizing video in there. So thanks for watching.